Hi everyone, welcome to UTV Gooner and our show, The Shooting Lone Star with Ram from the Austin Gooners. Hey bro, how are you?
Doing good, man. Our first cold front of the year is here. It's a little chilly. Feels like proper fall going into winter. We don't get a lot of cold weather here in Texas, but um yeah, it feels good, man. And excited for the World Cup. A little bit sad that it's not the best circumstances, right? That the World Cup happens this year, but it's always going to be a big event when it happens. And um obviously Arsenal, man, top of the league, uh riding high, man, feeling great.
Yeah, it's amazing times. It was a really important win for us. Like on Sunday against Chelsea, we were speaking about it in the last show, how important it was for us to go away from home against a big team and go get that result. We did it. We dominated the game. It looks close in the end, 1-0, but I don't remember Ramsdale having to make a real save in that game. We completely shut them out. Could have been a bigger margin of win, but we got that goal and then we were comfortably saw the game out to get the win. Vital 3 points. What were your thoughts?
It felt like I think I even mentioned this here in like the WhatsApp when we were chatting, but this 1-0 win felt a lot better than the 1-0 win against like the Leeds match. If we remember how we were talking about like, hey, against Leeds, it was like, oh, we could have been up 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, and then the second half we were just lucky to walk away with the win. This one felt like the complete opposite, right? Like, sure, same sort of consistent story we're starting to see. There's we got to be a little bit more clinical if we want to be, I guess, critical about the team. Like we could have easily, yeah, been up 2-0, 3-0 by halftime. We weren't, but and then at the same time, like it was almost like we battered them 1-0, right? Not necessarily as dominant as like the match against Forest, but still like a decisive win. I never felt that we were close to giving it up. I think even after we got the goal in like the 63rd minute, um, I rewatched that portion of the match recently, actually, yesterday, right after we watched the goal, which was great. And then right after that, the last 30 minutes or something like that. And it never even felt like they threatened. And I never like even thinking back to watching it at the bar, like it was never in doubt. Um, and even sometimes you hear you'll see like I was listening to the crowd, and sometimes if it's a really tight game, once they announce like the stoppage time, sometimes you hear the crowd like groaning, depending on if we're home or away, right? Like you hear a certain degree of like groaning and just complaining, right? Like nervous that oh, there's so much time left. But you didn't really hear that in the broadcast of the Chelsea match. I mean, obviously I wasn't there, and TV kind of shakes it off a little bit, but like yeah, there was never at any point like, all right, 5 minutes, like we got this, no big deal. And that's what it felt like. So from the beginning to the end, it was almost like, yeah, we dominated. We played our game plan. And we looked like the team in control. We looked like the home team. Um, and all that hoopla about Aubameyang, going against his old team, uh, it didn't amount to much of anything, right? He barely had like, I don't even think he had 10 touches. He had four in the first half and a couple in the second half, and they took him off right after we scored the goal. So um, it was a perfect Sunday, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really funny. You saw what he said before the game, nothing personal. Um, we saw the reaction after the game from players and fans. Yeah, nothing personal, just an easy 3 points.
Yeah,
So yeah, it was a
yeah.
really
He didn't
cool
even
performance.
he didn't even like. I mean, he wasn't decisive. I made the joke with some of my buddies that, oh, if he starts, it's 11. We have a man advantage, right? And that's kind of what it felt like. You really didn't even see him. The first time I heard his name getting called was maybe like a couple touches early on, and then that yellow card. It was almost like he felt like he had to do something to get into the game, and he had that sloppy that sloppy challenge on Ben White, and if he was wearing Arsenal colors, that certainly would have been a red, kind of like his red card against, I think it was like Crystal Palace one year. It was a really sloppy late challenge, and he got a red card, and straight away 3-game suspension. He was lucky to get a yellow, but yeah, man, I mean, it was all the reaction from the fans, from Gabriel. He put up a tweet saying the same thing. Had a real good time, like just kind of egging on Aubameyang. I wish I was there, to like actually boo him or whatever. Granted, yes, he did a lot of good things for us, but he invited it on himself to kind of get all the banter thrown his way.
Yeah, for sure. He was a good player for us. We know scored many great goals, but then after the way he left and the way he's handled the situation has been really bad. We've seen
Hmm.
the comments he's been making about Arteta as well. So yeah, unfortunately, he's not going to be a fan favorite here, you know, ever again. Like, I
Yeah,
was just saying to you, it's difficult because like when he was with us, he was one of my favorite players and he scored some vital goals for us. But yeah, just also the way he was behaving before he left. We saw it in the Amazon documentary. Arteta mentioned many issues he had with him. It wasn't just one thing, So he wasn't setting a good example as a captain. And then we've seen once he's left, the comments he's been making about Arteta as well are really unprofessional. Even if he's got that feeling towards him, shouldn't be putting that out in the public. Keep that private. So yeah, disappointing from him. But yeah, we got the result. So
yeah,
for us, brilliant all-round performance. Really got to say that we learned from that Man United game. We were much tighter. We were dominant in that Man United game, but we did leave ourselves open a couple of times for them to hit us on the break. But in this game, you could see we dominated, but we were, making sure that we were really solid. But as I said, I don't remember Ramsdale making a save. And that says it all. If we're going away to home to a, a team full of really good players, and we managed to shut them down so much that they didn't make any clear-cut chances. They took their main striker off after 60 minutes, and we were just comfortable, as you said, throughout. As you said, even at the end, like when they've added that extra time, we're not worried. They just didn't look like they're going to score. So
yeah,
we've really got to give credit to all the players for that brilliant all-round performance.
yeah. And man of the match was William Saliba, and that kind of gives you an idea of just how dominant we were on the defensive end. There was this one moment that I did want to point out talking to you, and I don't know if you caught it, but I can't remember exactly what moment in the game it was or like what minute it was, but he made it was a really bad mistake inside his own box. And I don't know if it was Kai Havertz that ended up with the ball inside the box, and he ended up just not even being able to make a shot. Like Saliba was just he made the mistake and then he turned right around and just got on him on Havertz. Havertz, just basically took a not a lazy shot, but just took a shot so that it would deflect off Saliba and go in for a corner. So it was almost like, yeah, he had the ball in like a really advantageous spot, but the way we just kind of locked him down as soon as we made that mistake was just amazing to see. And it was just like a really small part of the game that nobody that man, like again, it's not like a big moment, but somebody mentioned it like an article I was reading, like just talking about how good his performance was. So I went back and looked it up and found it. I was just like, yeah, like that epitomizes, I think, our whole defensive group. The 5 people we have back there, right? Sinchenko, Gabriel, Saliba, White, and Ramsdale, and then everybody that we have back there backing everybody up, like Tomiyasu and Tierney, like uh yeah, I mean obviously the big stories, that when people talk about Arsenal is how flash and dash we play and how exciting we play and how high scoring we can be at times, but I really think the defenses are really the big anchor of our team, and it starts, I think, with Saliba and Gabriel. As much as Gabriel's kind of struggled as well too, like he's kind of the hothead. Saliba kind of balances out, and he's really cool under pressure, man. And I just wanted to point that out, man. It was a good performance by Saliba, man. Well deserved that he got the man of the match because um, without even scoring a goal or having a shot, just complete domination, right? As you said, Aubameyang got taken off, and really it was almost like that same when Yasu shut down Mo Salah and they took Salah off because it's like, well, you're not doing anything. We got to try something new. That's what Saliba did to Aubameyang, and I kind of knew that was going to happen. I was like, yeah, he's not going to have a game against us because we got Saliba back there, man, and amazing player. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And another thing I wanted to talk about is you wouldn't have heard it because obviously you got the American TV coverage there. But here on the Sky Sports coverage, we had Scott Parker, the former manager at Bournemouth. He was on, and they asked him like, what's the big thing you noticed about when you play Arsenal recently? Because they played us not too long ago, and he was manager. And he said the big thing that he's seen with us is that we look really well drilled and organized. You can see that everyone knows what their jobs are, and we're working really nicely in tandem. So that shows you the work that's been done on the training ground. And we know Arteta's learned from someone like Pep, who's really keen on that and puts a lot of work into that. Everyone knows their roles and like the way that you work as a team. We've been doing that so well. And as you see how well organized our defense is, and that starts from the top. So strikers, the defending, the midfielders, defenders, everyone's just knows their role and doing it really well. So it's interesting because he's played us recently as a manager, and they've done a lot of analysis on us as a team before playing us, and they would have seen how we work. And that's one thing that he did mention on that program. And as you're saying, it's clear to see. We see how organized we are as a team.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love hearing when opposing managers when they ask about what it's like to play against Arsenal because that's I think we can talk as fans and we can speculate and commentators as well can kind of have their own opinions, but it really hits hard when like manager after manager is starting to say like the same things over and over, but it also never gets old, right? To hear that's really cool, and I definitely didn't hear that, but I'm gonna probably after this go on YouTube and try and see if I can find a clip or something because I love it. Again, it just goes to show that we're people know what they're going to get when they play against us, and um, at the same time, it's hard to go against, and we're going to come out and dominate and play our game regardless of who the opponent is, and that's just really exciting to see, and yeah, that's cool. That's cool to hear that.
Yeah, for sure, bro. All credit to Arteta and the coaching staff doing an
Mhm.
amazing job. So let's talk a little bit about our title rivals then. I think I can say that. Pep was saying it today. He had his press
Mhm.
conference. He's saying, yeah, Arsenal are our title rivals. When you look at the table, right, we've got such a big gap. So us and City are close at the top 2 points only. But then after that, you've got Newcastle are like 7 points back. We've got a game in hand on them. Tottenham 8 points back. We've got a game in hand on them as well. I think Chelsea are like 11 or 13 points now. Liverpool's 15 points. So we've got massive gaps on the teams behind Man City. So it's still very early, I know, but it could just be coming down to a two-horse race. Hopefully, we can stay with Man City, go the distance with them, and you never know. We have got that chance of potentially winning it. But yeah, let's talk about their game. They were so lucky. I was speaking to you about this on Saturday. I was fuming, right? What was the Fulham guy doing? It's the last minute. De Bruyne is gonna look for any chance to go down and get a penalty. I thought it was a soft penalty, but it's so unfortunate that last minute like that. It seemed that Fulham had done so well, hold out, get the draw. They had things going their favour in terms of Man City getting that red card, but then they were playing all right. They were keeping them out, and it was looking positive. Like, cool, this could be a couple of drop points for Man City, but in the end, they got that penalty and got the goal. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of what you just said, right? Like, first of all, like the red card. Um, I thought great, like Fulham can get back in this. I don't know if the red card came early, right? Yeah, so it was 26th minute. They were able to get the penalty to draw, right? So 1-1 at that point. But you never saw Fulham like actually take advantage of the fact that they had extra man on City, right? So on one hand, you can look at City and say, "Oh wow, like they're so good that even with 10 men, they can just almost dominate a game." But part of that had to do with Fulham just kind of almost sitting back just saying, all right, well, fuck it, we're just gonna see if we can keep the draw. I mean, they had a couple chances where they might have been able to take the lead, but yes, then at the end, like he did not need to do it. Like yeah, it was just a lazy challenge, just because I mean, all he had to do was just kind of stay in front of him, play play good defense against him, not let him give off an easy shot. Like I know that's so easy to say, and in the moment, it's probably a lot. Things are moving a lot quicker, but I mean, you're a professional footballer. You got to know playing against City, playing against a guy like De Bruyne, like they're going to get the call, right? And if you do a lazy challenge like that, but then at the same time, yes, that penalty was soft, bro. Like there's no way any kind of contact makes somebody fall that way. Complete and total dive. I thought they would look at it and maybe give him the yellow card, but of course they didn't. And then of course, fucking Holland knocks it in. It was really annoying. And then even Leno had a chance to save it. You know, I don't think it was the best penalty that Holland's ever taken. Um, yeah, Leno guessed correctly, but he just couldn't really save it. So it just wasn't. Yeah, at the end of the day, you watch that, and if you're a Fulham fan, like you got to be upset uh, at the fact that you lost that, because you didn't play better than City, but you played well enough to earn a point. But you also have to be mad at that you didn't watch your team try and get the 3 points, because who knows, man? Who knows? Maybe they go up to, maybe they end up with a draw at 2-2 and still drop points for us. Um, but lo and behold, yes, City ended up winning. And yeah, I mean, and that's those are the kind of games that win you championships. And it would have been an all-time great weekend in terms of results, I think, if that one went our way, at least with a draw. Um, but yeah, it's us and City as title contenders, I think, and then the very next day, the way we responded, I think, was still something to be like proud of, right? Like our players knew going in, like, hey, we're in second place, we got to win to go back into first. Um, yeah, I think we responded well, and I think we're going to continue to respond well. So, yeah, to go to your point, and yeah, Arteta mentioned it, Pep mentioned it. Like, I think it's time to start taking a title run seriously. I really want us to do well tomorrow, and then start thinking about what happens during the World Cup. I'll really be like, I'm kind of using the World Cup and waiting, especially since we got so many players going over there, that kind of want to wait and see how the World Cup turns out for our players. And depending on how all that goes, like, then I'll start thinking, okay, we can start talking about championships seriously. But yeah, it's starting to get there. We're starting to get to the point, like early on when we were like 5 games, 6 games in, and we were still winning. It's like, oh, it's too early. But now it's starting to kind of sink in. Like this is one of the best starts in Arsenal Football Club history, right? And we've been playing football since what, 1886? Best start in club history ever. Got to start thinking, okay. And I'm sure the players are starting to believe too. So this is something that's it's exciting. Again, I'm still living in the moment. Don't want to get ahead of myself as a fan, but I'm definitely starting to think like, okay, this team is something. This team is doing something special, and it's time to start saying like, all right, it's time to raise the bar a little bit. You also heard like the reports about ownership kind of saying like, hey, we're gonna spend some money because you know like the bar got raised a little bit. You know, um, hopefully they do come through and we spend some money, we get some players with with the championship in mind. You know what I mean? That would be really sweet.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens in January because we don't know, obviously, the situation of the World Cup. We mentioned, many things can happen. There's so many variables. I know how deep some of our players were going that tournament because that will obviously make a difference on when they come back. Injuries as well. So, yeah, let's hope we don't get any injuries. And let's hope that we do manage to invest some money in the January transfer window. It's always a difficult transfer window to get players in, but
Yeah.
we'll touch on more of that during the World Cup break. Go look into that in more detail. But yeah, just before we move on, another game to talk about over the weekend. That I'd say right now, the position we're in, top four is looking really, really good, but they are still our top four rivals. Liverpool were playing Tottenham. It was at Tottenham's ground. Liverpool got the win there. I saw that game. I thought Liverpool played well. I think Tottenham are really, really struggling right now. Like, if their results, we saw them the other day. We're going to the Carabao Cup matches as well. Like, I didn't know they played quite a strong team. I was actually speaking to someone today who was telling me that, Tottenham played a strong team against Nottingham Forest. I was like, what? And they still
Yeah,
lost. They're going through a really bad time. But Liverpool seem to be coming back. Liverpool have been very inconsistent. We've seen them beat the likes of Man City this season. They won, was it Bournemouth 9-0, something like that, wasn't it? They've
yeah,
had some
9-0.
really good results, but then they've had some really poor results as well. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that Tottenham versus Liverpool game?
Oh, yeah, I watched that game from start to finish. Really good performance in the first half by Liverpool. Um, and then the second half, it was a tale of two halves, right? Like I thought Tottenham played well enough to potentially steal 3 points from them. So I was like nervous the whole time because I mean I would have taken a draw. I wouldn't have minded, right? Like both teams drop points, but I'll always take Tottenham losing. So I really wanted them at that point. I was just like, all right, let's get this game over with. Let's, I'll take Liverpool winning if that means Tottenham loses. So yeah, I mean, yeah, just Liverpool. That's their season in a nutshell, right? Like they looked real good at half the game, and in the second half they just looked, inept. They couldn't really threaten. They didn't threaten to score a third goal at any point. And Tottenham, they're built like a team. I mean, they have the type of talent like and you see them right. Just like I think the style of play that Conte is trying to do doesn't really match with the players that they have. Like they have players like I think if you have people like Son and Kane, although Son's out or whatever, but you got players who can score goals. So why not try and score goals, right? They're kind of built like a team who should be trying to win games 3-2 and instead they're trying to win 1-0 every game. Uh, but then it's funny just seeing how bad their defense is playing, and that's like their entire style. Like they're playing to play defense and absorb attack and then counter attack, but they're falling behind 2-0 in some games. So when they fall behind 2-0, it always kind of speaks bad news for them. So I hope they continue to just drop points like that. Yeah, because they're on a ugly run of stretch. Um, I'll take it though, but yeah, they're not looking very promising at all. And Liverpool's out of those two teams, I'm probably a little bit more afraid of Liverpool. Like they seem to always kind of figure it out. I'm sure they're gonna spend some money as well in the transfer window and bring some kind of reinforcements. A lot of their issues have to do with injuries. So eventually, some of those players are going to start coming back. So who knows how that's going to be when they start getting more players that they can kind of rotate. Um, so I think out of the two teams, yeah, I would say Liverpool is a little bit more of the dangerous one. And yeah, I like that result, and I'll take that result all day.
Yeah, it's always nice seeing Tottenham struggle, and we saw, as I was saying earlier, that we saw them losing the Carabao Cup, but unfortunately, we lost two. I don't want to dwell on it too much. We never like losing the game. Got to say though, one thing, right? We have not lost a game at home this season. That is an amazing record to have. Won all our Premier League games, won all the Europa League games. So unfortunately, we've had this loss. But if we had to choose what competition we have a loss at home in, this would be the one. You know, so when you look at that and also look at the side of it now, it's many people there's different points of view. We all got our own opinions, but many people are saying it's like nice to be in as many competitions as possible and have as many chances as possible of winning a trophy. But then the other side of it is we know there's already a very condensed season. There's a massive fixture pile up, especially for us because we've had a couple of games postponed. You know, earlier in the season we've got that Man City game postponed that needs to be played again, and the game against Everton. So by not being in the Carabao Cup now, we're gonna have less games in the coming months, January, February, March, that time. So that can look at that as a positive. Everton went out of the Carabao Cup as well, so it's likely that we're going to play them in that rearranged game during one of the weeks where the Carabao Cup's on. So there's a lot of positives to actually going out of competition. I'm not saying I'm happy to go out of competition. No one would ever say that, but
Yeah,
there is a bright side to it. So you've got to give credit to Brighton. We didn't put our strong team out there, but Brighton put. I spoke to some Brighton fans after, and they said that's about half their full strength team. So they're a much stronger team than we went out there with, more experience. They played very well. We got to give it to them. They did play very well. We were not playing so well. It was an off day for us. We started well, got the goal, but then they just played. We had that mistake, unfortunately, or slip, from the goalkeeper that let him back in, and then they played very well in that second half. Just got to give them credit. Well done to them. And for us, we just take that as it is. Move on to the next game. More important for us is we want to get 3 points against Wolverhampton. Yeah,
yeah.
that's the serious business for us. So, what were your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, it sucked at first overall just because I couldn't even watch the game and you guys couldn't watch it either, right? So I listened to it on the radio for a little bit, and once we went down 3-1 with however much time left, it was, I shut it off. But yeah, exactly, what you said. I mean, in a normal year, I would love for us to be in as many competitions as possible. And I mean, now we're gonna have to like give up our dream this year at least of aiming for the quadruple, right? Like that's not possibility anymore. So we're gonna have to move on from that. But yeah, in a season just like this with the World Cup and so many variables that are just unknown, right? Like this, we're entering like into a new phase that's never happened really before. So um, I'm okay with this being, the loss that we take in the competition that we go out of. Um, and another thing to think about: the next round for the Carabao Cup occurs 3 days after the World Cup final. Um, so that whoever's in that next round plays, like someone like Manchester United is going to play before they do the Boxing Day game, I believe. If my numbers are all said correctly, yeah. So that's extra days that we don't have to worry about preparing for a game, and we can just start on Boxing Day like everybody else. So yeah, just less games, and yeah, I mean, honestly, like we didn't put like the strongest team out there. Um, we had that goalie at Hein. I think I'm saying it correctly. Yeah, third string goalie, basically. Um, but I also think something to think about. It's definitely a theme that we've seen, especially in the Europa League games, that our second team needs. We need to like bring in more players to bolster our second team, but also I think the current team players that we do have haven't necessarily stepped up to the plate, to use like a baseball reference. Like they haven't stepped up and performed as well as we hoped. Like Fabio Vieira is one that comes to mind. I know he's like younger and he's still got a long way to go in terms of like adapting. So not to throw him out and just say like, all right, he sucks. Same thing with Sammy Lokonga, but like those two players, like they haven't necessarily shined when the spotlight is on them and their opportunity came, right? Like they're still kind of struggling and maybe not performing as well as we all hoped. So that just kind of, I think increases the urgency for us to bring in more talent to kind of raise the level of the squad a little bit. Um, but I think, ultimately when it comes to like to just kind of go on a sidebar and talk about like transfer business, we did a good job improving the quality of our starting 11 and did a decent job of improving our backups. So I think, moving forward, I think our next couple of transfer windows we need to like improve our backups. So I mean, it's always there's always something, right? There's always an agenda that we have to have for every transfer window. You can't solve every problem. But I think this just goes to show like, our starting 11 is great. And when we can bring in players to kind of plug in holes for our main starting 11, those players do pretty well. But if we go entirely second team, we struggle a little bit. And that's not surprising either. I mean, it's not like these players are getting to play all the time. Um, they're not getting the same amount of games that the players who start Premier League games are getting. And a lot of these players are also there's also a few that you can point out that are starting every single game. So like Bukayo Saka, for example, although he got rest in this past game. So again, yeah, I think it's a good loss in the sense that it gives Arteta some game film to kind of coach the players up and say like, hey, look what went on here, right? If you've ever played sports and you ever sat through a game film when you played bad, like it's the worst feeling in the world. And so I know there's going to be some good opportunities for a lot of the players to continue to learn and continue to improve their game. Obviously, you'll want to say yes, we want to win every game and perform at our best at every game. That's just not the case. And just like I said with the PSV game that we lost, if there was a game to lose, it's going to be this one. So I'll take it. Ultimately, moving forward in the big picture, like not a big deal. So yes, take the loss. We're out of a competition that really nobody ever wants. Like nobody, the Carabao Cup is like the lowest rung of cup, right? Like we want the FA Cup, we want the Premier League, obviously, and be nice to get a Europe trophy as well. So I think those are the ones that we're keeping our eyes on, and so we move on to to Wolverhampton and Molineux Stadium. Gotta, yep, that's the mentality that I hope we have.
Yeah, bro, for sure. On to the next one. Really important now, this one. So we know how nice it'll be for us to go into that World Cup break, still top of the league, going into Christmas period, top of the league. It's gonna be a great feeling for us as fans. It's been a long while, since we've been top on Christmas Day. So it's really important. It's very likely that Man City are gonna win their game beforehand. They're playing lunchtime
Mhm.
on the Saturday against Brentford at home. Never know though. Maybe Brentford can get some points, but we got to take care of our business either way. Like even if they do slip up, we want to really win in our games, taking advantage of it. So it's a huge, huge game. Really looking forward to it. We got this break after until Boxing Day, so it's the last game for us for a while. I'm really excited for it, and I'm confident we can get the win. Wolverhampton have been a bit shaky this season. They're not the same team they were from a couple of seasons back. They're still it's at their ground, and we know what the Premier League's like. It will not be easy. Expecting them to put up a good fight for them as well. It's their last game before the World Cup. It's a home game. The fans are going to be really up for it. So, yeah, we've got to go there. Similar performance to how we done against Chelsea. Shut them down. Make sure we keep solid. Get our goal. Hopefully, more than one goal this time. Hopefully, being more comfortable, 2-3, hopefully. But yeah, I'm confident we can go there and get the win. What's your thoughts?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly what you say. Like, yeah, this Wolverhampton team, they're always. I used to watch them a lot in the past couple of years. They've always been really a well organized defensive team, and I think they're still that. Like, they still play good defense. Um, they're giving up, a good amount of goals this year. But a fun stat to think about, like they struggle scoring goals, right? So they've scored 8 goals all season. Um, they've scored 4 of those goals in the past 3 games, and that one they've gone 1-1-1, right? So they won against Leeds in the past game. They lost 3-2 to Brighton, and they drew 1-1 to Brentford. And then 2 games before that, they lost 2-1 to Crystal Palace. So in the past 5 games, 5 goals. That's a huge percentage of the goals that they've scored have happened, I think, since the new manager bounce. Like I don't know exactly when they brought in the new manager, um, but I think that's going to be a factor, right? The new manager shaking things up, new players or not new players coming in, but new style. So they've played a little bit better as of late. Scoring a little bit more goals, but again, they're not getting their results. So I don't think it's going to be one of those, yeah, that we can just go in and expect to be overly confident and dominate them. But I think it's just going to be the same situation like with Chelsea. Like we're the better team. Yes, they've played us tough in the past, especially last season, right? Last season, the real dramatic. We had to fight to get a draw, and then we had to fight to get a last minute winner. Lacazette, like that goal, I'm gonna remember for a long time, right? Huge goal. In the grand scheme of things, it didn't mean a whole lot, but it was an amazing moment, right? And that was against Wolves, man. So, um, yeah, I think again, this is going to be one of those moments like, hey, we're playing that. We're not going to play the occasion, right? Like we're not going to play this team that typically is like a thorn on our sides. Like we're going to play a team that is not very good and is struggling, and like we're better than them. So I think, and they're 19th in the table, right? So we should be able to go in there and dominate them. I'm not saying that we will, and I'm not saying that it's going to be, an easy from start to finish, but I think we're going to play our game. We're going to come out and hopefully dominate. And ultimately, I think we're going to get the win. I hopefully not going to be. I hope it's not as close as this game against Chelsea. You know, ultimately, like Chelsea has had a little bit more overall quality on their side, and I don't think with the Wolves, they don't have like the same. I mean, Hwang is playing okay. Nunez, I'm looking at their starting lineup, like or potential. Um, I mean, we should go in there and just. But I'm not saying we're going to batter them, but they don't have a striker like Raul Jimenez, the Mexican, is has been out almost the whole season, so that's part of the reason why they're struggling to score goals. Diogo Costa is out, he's suspended. Pedro Neto is another one who's probably going to miss the game as well. So yeah, we should go in there and just I don't know about better than, but we should win like 2-0, man. Like it should be we should win comfortably.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. Hoping for a real dominant display. It'd be nice, we'll be sending a message out there as well to the rest of the league that, look how we're finishing off. Watch what we're gonna do when we come back from the World Cup break. So hopefully we can go out nice, good win. It'll be a really nice way to finish this part of the season. It's a real weird one because we've got this World Cup now. Never experienced anything like this before, but yeah, let's go out with that win. Come on, boys, we can do this. So let's talk about some of the other games this weekend. As I mentioned to you earlier, Man City have got Brentford. What's your thoughts on that one?
Oh, yeah, that could go. I mean, I if I was a betting man, I would just put money on Man City, right? But you never know with again Premier League, man. All the matches are competitive or can be competitive. I don't know if Haaland is still injured. That foot that kept him out. That was another reason that Fulham played really well, right? Like that threat of Haaland wasn't there for a while. They put Haaland in as substitute. He ends up scoring the winning goal, of course. But Tony is playing really well for Brentford. Brentford is kind of shaky, right? Like they're very inconsistent, but also very tough to play, right? I mean, there have been games where they've played close, and there have been games where they've drawn the last three games overall. Um, so it's not like they're terrible. But then we've dominated them. So they're exactly what they mid-table club playing everybody close. They've got 7 draws, 3 wins, 4 losses. So they're getting points in games. They're just not getting a whole lot of points. So I don't know. I do think ultimately, especially with the full strength City team, and again they're aiming for the title. I think they end up winning like 2-0.
Okay. Liverpool are playing against Southampton.
Southampton just dropped their manager, didn't they? I forget his name. It's kind of a hard name to say, but um, it's at home for Liverpool. Uh, yeah, I think Liverpool goes into that game feeling good about themselves, and I think they end up pulling out the win as well. Um, they put in a very very weak team against Derby. Um, got lucky and ended up, they're gonna. I'm glad that they won too as well. So they're one. It's weird. Yeah, I was okay with us losing the Carabao Cup in the Carabao Cup, but any team that's sort of our rival for top four, I'm glad that they went on. Like I'm glad United won. I'm glad Liverpool won. I think Newcastle won as well. Like yes, play more games, please. Right. So yeah, I think they're going to end up winning that one as well. Southampton, they're 18th as well. So yeah, Liverpool's going to win that one comfortably. I'll say I'll say 2-0 as well.
Okay, and a really good game between Newcastle and Chelsea this weekend. Thoughts on that one?
Ooh, yeah, Newcastle. They're emerging as a team that's scary. They're three. They're scoring a ton of goals, and they're also playing really good defensively. I think they're tied. They're basically tied with us, with goals given up at 11. Um, and Almiron is playing out of his mind. I mean, there's this whole narrative going out, right? Like with comparing him and Jack Grealish, just because Jack Grealish kind of made fun of him drunkenly, right? But I think yeah, Almiron got interviewed and said like, very humble guy. He's a real good player, very likable. Um, yeah, they're just playing really good football. Without actually one of the players that I like, Saint Maximin. He's been like injured on and off, and then Alexander Isaac, like the guy that they brought in at the beginning of the season, has been out. I think he only played like 2 games, and then he's been out with injury this whole time. So yeah, Newcastle is a scary team. I think Chelsea is on one of their runs where they're just struggling. Um, and I mean, look who they're starting. I mean, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is their starting striker. He's not. I would imagine Chelsea is wanting to start a guy like Aubameyang regularly. Um, so I think that's going to be another game that Chelsea drops. And I think I'll if I had to pick between a game, and I'll pick Newcastle to win this one, but if I had to pick another team to pick another team to kind of fall off the pecking order in terms of like chasing top four, I'll take Chelsea losing as well. So, Liverpool's out of here, at least for now, right? We'll say that. But Chelsea losing another game, that's fine. Newcastle is pretty close, but we're still ahead of them. But they're hot right now, and I don't think Chelsea's going to be able to stop them. Newcastle's at home too, so I think Newcastle wins this one. Uh, we'll say like like 2-1. I don't think it'll be dominance, but we'll see. I might be wrong.
Okay, bro. And Tottenham have got Leeds.
Tottenham and Leeds. Oh man, where's this one at? Let me pull this up real quick.
Tottenham
Uh,
Stadium.
Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Oh boy, yeah. Leeds, man, you never know. I rewatched that Leeds and Bournemouth game, man. I don't know if you watched that one. That was like the game of the week, 4-3. They went down 3-1 at one point, came back, scored 3 goals. It was incredible to watch. If you're a neutral fan, that's amazing. I think Leeds is probably like a great team to watch if you're a neutral fan. I like watching them, but again, they're 12th, they're a mid-table club, just like Brentford. You don't know what you're going to get with them. Um, I'm gonna call them. I'm gonna call them getting the upset though. I think they'll win like something like 3-2. I think Tottenham still has better quality overall. I think Richarlison, yeah, is gonna end up getting a start with Kane, and I maybe say that they'll go up, something like 2-0. But I think Leeds is gonna. I think it's gonna be. That's probably gonna be one of the more exciting games to watch as a neutral fan. I'm gonna pull for Leeds to get the upset on that one, 3-2. Because fuck Tottenham, right?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and to finish with, on the Sunday, Fulham are playing Man United.
Oh shit. Man United, man, they're another team that's just not. You can't trust them, right? And they've got a lot of people out, so we'll see. Fulham, Fulham has a lot of people out too as well. I'm looking at their injured and suspended players. Mitrovic is out for a long time. I'm going to call that a draw. I don't think any team. I don't think either one of them is going to jump over the other one. I'm going to say that's going to be like the worst game of the week, and we'll call that a 0-0 draw. Um, just because both teams are just not. I don't think United is very inspiring at all. They got completely battered against Villa, man. And I was like, where did this come from, Villa, man? Like I mean, yeah, I know they got Emery back, uh, but Villa hasn't been playing really well all season, and they just played against United and then just completely dominated them, man. Like it was amazing to see them jump up 2-0 within the first 10 minutes. So and then they played again in the Carabao Cup. It was back and forth, 4-2. Yeah, man, I just don't trust United. If I were a fan, I'd be completely frustrated with them. So I say, yeah, I think that's going to be a 0-0 draw. Worst game of the week.
Okay, so it's gonna be interesting. Last weekend of Premier League action. Gonna miss it. Obviously, we've got the World Cup on, so it's weird. Man. It's weird. It's all like, not used to seeing the World Cup at this time of year. So yeah,
Very weird. Yeah.
we've still got something really good to look forward to, even though there is a Premier League break and we're not gonna get to see our team Arsenal play. It is a World Cup, which is always a spectacular occasion. And yeah, so looking forward to watching the World Cup, but also again looking forward to our next game on Boxing Day after this. So yeah, man, it's strange, like strange times. But yeah, so look forward to speaking to you now next week. Normally we had 2 games a week, but we won't have that now. This is it. One more game. So we reviewing this game with you next week and then talking more about the World Cup and about reviewing our season so far as well. It's been a great start for us. I mean, yeah, looking ahead to when the Premier League resumes, the transfer window, still a lot to talk about over the coming month until we get back to that Premier League action. So as always, well, thanks for your time.
Yeah, man, it's been a great season thus far, right? Top of the league. Think about where we were not even 2 seasons ago when we were going into Boxing Day, 15th, and I think we were playing Chelsea, and that's when we started having like a big run that took us to 8th. Um, that was yeah, I guess we'll say that's Arteta's like first full season, right? We had that really horrible run, and then we went into Boxing Day like yeah, 15th, beat Chelsea 3-1, and that gave us a little bit of a life, and we started to see where we were going through, right? And now we have the chance to potentially be top of the league going into Boxing Day, and what a big turnaround that would be, right? Fucking amazing. It's been an amazing start to the season. Really annoying that we got to stop for a month because of the World Cup. But again, the World Cup is amazing to watch. We're gonna have 8 players there. Who knows how much each of them are gonna play? Like it'll be a good mix of enjoying international football, but then also like hoping that our players don't get hurt, or hopefully they play well enough to continue to be in form for when they come back. It's just going to be a very weird time, but um, all we can do as fans is just sit back and enjoy the football, right? Because the players, as far as they're concerned, the ones that are going to get to go and play in the World Cup, this is their dream. A lot of them are going to be playing in their first one, so they're going to enjoy the moment, and hopefully everything goes well for them, for our boys. Um, and yeah, we'll see what happens. And yeah, looking forward to talking to you next week. Um, Basically, yeah, when we talk next week, I think we'll be if we talk on a Friday, it'll be the first day of World Cup action, and then yeah, so I'll probably be on a high as well. And then yeah, we'll talk about the Wolves game. Hopefully, we're talking about uh, going into the break with a bang. And yeah, we'll see what happens, man. Come on, you Gunners. Um, let's beat their ass because yeah, the Wolves team. This is the team that not necessarily. I don't hate them like Liverpool, but they're to me kind of like Palace. Like this is that team that we should be battering every time, and we just haven't. And this fixture was a draw last year, so we can pull the win. That's an improvement, right? Like if we break every fixture down to like result by result, like we got 1 point, let's get 3 points, and then that's a 2 point bump from last year. That's just little victories, man. I'll take it every time. So let's go.
Yeah, for sure, bro. Let's hope when I do next week's show, we're still top of the league. Come on, boys.
Let's
Massive
go.
win for us tomorrow. Really excited. That's all from us. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share.